What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Gouging Fire EX, and we are specifically going to be taking a look at the list that just won the Thailand Regionals. It was an event that was held just a few days. I think it might have been over this weekend, perhaps, during the Vancouver season regionals, but there's no limitless data, but I did see the post on Twitter, so I figured I would build the list and showcase it to you guys. This deck is very slow, but it's very fun when it decides to work well. So Gouging Fire EX, 230 HP. You have Heat Blast for a fire and a colorless, which does 60 damage, and then for 2 fire and a colorless, you do 260, and then this Pokemon can't use Blaze Blitz again until it leaves the active spot. So kind of similar to having cooldown effects with Sablezard and using Charizard's attack. You have to find ways to retreat, put it back to the bench, and then retreat back into it to be able to use Blaze Blitz. Blaze Blitz, 260 damage. It's just shy of hitting those big important numbers, but paired with this is a 1 copy of Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant, Tachyon Bits, once during your turn, when it's brought from the bench to the active, you can put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this means that you can take the Blaze Blitz math from 260 to 280, and then when being paired with the A-Spec in the deck of Maximum Belt, it allows you to hit those 330 numbers, which means that you can one-shot Charizard and go from there. Now, in order to synergize well with this, we are playing a copy of Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu allows you to just kind of be a one-prizer that can deal massive damage if needing, with the ability to attach return, but also being able to use things like the fire type supporter. We'll get to her. I can't remember her name right now, but you also have Magma Basin, so you can set this up in one turn pretty easily, and it's just a free 140, but it also helps to accelerate to the bench, so it's a great attacker turn 1 if you're forced to go second and you start with it. We're also playing Delphox V. Magical Fire, it's nice to be able to snipe the bench, but it's also another V Pokemon aside from the one of Entei V that has access to Forest Sealstone. Entei V, we know what this does, Burning Rondo, 20 plus 20 for each of your bench and your opponent's bench, so this means that you can kind of set up math and set up damage, and it's an early attacker that can be well used while you're setting up the back end attackers with the Gouging Fire. So we do have 1 Cyclizar on the list. This is mainly for a free retreat pivot, just so that way if you retreat and need to reset your Blaze Blitz, you have a free retreater, so you can play Switch, go into it, and then just have free retreat in order to pivot back in. You have Squawk in order to help those early turn setups, and then being paired with the deck is Professor Sada's Vitality. This is kind of important to the deck if you do want to kind of streamline the Blaze Blitz attacks with the Gouging Fires. It means that you can attach to energy in play, but you also have access to using Basin and your attach return, so you can get it set up in one turn with access of Sada. You just have to kind of sequence it right. But the Mela is the fire supporter I was talking about earlier. It synergizes well with the Chi-Yu just because you can only use this if the Pokemon was knocked out on your opponent's last turn. So it means if your opponent takes a knockout, you're able to accelerate a fire energy and then draw up until you have 6. Similar to Raihan, but not as strong in terms of being able to search for any card from the deck after the energy. It just means that you get to draw a lot more cards and actually attach. So this was a key card in actually the gameplay that you will see today. So aside from that, there's not too much to really talk about. The list is just built on consistency and making sure that you can get everything streamlined and going. So with that being said, the deck list will be right here so you guys can see the full 60. And in the description will also be the 60 card deck list for you guys to copy and paste into Pokemon TCG Live. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for all of the love and support on the video. You guys have been kind of killing everything. From the Gardevoir video, I think we're almost at 2,000 views on that, to the Great Tusk video, and everything in between. And you guys actually went over to Zach's channel and showed some love, so I really appreciate that. But if you guys could do me a favor, if you do enjoy today's video, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Let me know down below what your favorite ancient type Pokemon is. Personally, I really like Raging Bolt. His long neck is just, it's great. Reminds me very much of just long-necked dinosaurs. So it's just it's funny to look at. But anyways, thank you guys again for everything, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Later. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the game with Gouging Fire. Hopefully we're able to get some decent draws. First couple of games I've played with this deck hasn't really treated me too well, so hopefully this game is a bit better and we're able to actually not brick. The only issue with this deck is the fact that not having as many switching outs kind of sucks. Like losing something along the lines of this is kind of awkward. It's not awkward, it's just kind of meh. But not having things like escape rope actually kind of sucks. So there's an artisan. Artisan does let us get the Cyclozar though, so we do have the free retreat pivot in case we do hit a switch. That's good. We do have access to research as well, so we could actually pull off a turn 1 attack, so definitely not bad. We're just gonna have to see what we can do. I'm thinking Artisan for Cyclozar for the free retreat pivot, Nest Ball for Entei V, and Nest Ball for we'll have to figure this out. Okay, so we get the Magma Basin too. So Magma Basin is actually pretty good. This means that we can attack with Entei V this turn. And take a knockout on this Comfey, which is good. So we do have the Cyclozar. We have Entei V in deck. We also have Squawk if we wanted to. I don't think Squawk's going to be fully necessary actually to get the setup going. I think we can put on enough pressure with the single Entei V. I just have to update a switching card. So if I don't hit a switching card, then I'm kind of in for a rough time. So maybe I do go Squawk, so that way I can see some more cards. Then we go research into Squawk if I don't hit the switching out. I think that's what I have to do. We'll go Earthen Vessel, we'll get rid of the Delphox, get 2 fires. We'll go Magma Basin, attach a fire. And then I can research now. And then Squawk. I don't hit a switching out, which is fine. Kind of figured I wasn't going to, because that's just my luck. But we still have some more cards that we can see. But we do have access to Entei. And then we can Ultra Ball just to thin an extra card. Get rid of the fire and boss. Depending on the matchup, these are actually going to be kind of relevant. I don't think I'm going to need 3 Gouging Fires. I think I'm only going to need 2, so I can safely get rid of 1 at least. Then we'll Earthen Vessel again. Put 2 more fires in the discard. Then go Squawk. And hopefully hit a switching out. And we do hit switch card, so that's perfect. That's what we wanted. That means we can go switch cards. And then next turn we have attach base and Sada, so we can fully set up this Gouging Fire as well. And speaking of, I'm going to bench the second one just so we get the full benefit off of Sada. And then we can use Burning Rondo, 140. Take a prize, and then depending on what my opponent plays down next turn, take another and go from there. Right now, this is kind of the setup that we could hope for. We have access to Sada, which means we get 2 energy. We have the attach return. We also have Magma Basin, so we can have 2 Gouging Fires that just need 1 energy to be able to attack. And then we also have the pivots between Iron Valiant and Cyclozar if we need to as well. So overall, we drew a lot of cards, but it all worked out. I think what we'll do is just keep swinging with this Entei V just until we, can't anymore, but the dark energy. It looks like my opponent is playing Moon in their list, so Moon will be 2 prizes. My opponent got rid of Buddy Puffin. Interesting. They probably had to choose Buddy Puffin or Greninja and chose to go for the consistency route, so. There's the Hisuian Heavy Ball. We do still have access to Palpat and one boss's orders as well, so. But what I was saying for the next turn, we're probably just going to sequence it with having Sada go 1 and 1, Magma Basin to 1, attach to 1. We won't have any more fires in the discard, but it does give us the chance to just keep swinging with this Entei and then have these Gouging Fires as backup if we need to. And with having the other Magma Basin, if this Entei V goes down, we're still good to go. So there's the escape board, and my opponent is just giving us a free prize with the Manaphy. Respectable. We get 4 Seal Stone, 4 Seal Stone. Definitely is good. I think what we're going to do first, though, before I risk attaching it, is just using Sada. Drawing us a couple cards. Now, we could go here, find a switching out. I don't think that the 20 damage from Iron Valiant is going to be too relevant right now, though. So, instead, what we'll do is just set up these backup attackers. And we do have access to Super Rod as well, if we need to. And the 4 Seal Stone really isn't going to do too much for us right now. So, we'll just go Magma Basin. Attach to the Gouging Fire here, and now no matter what, we have access to setting up these Gouging Fires off of a single Sada should we draw it, or if not, we have the energy. So we'll use Fleet-Footed here, get the Radzard, that's actually pretty huge for the late game. Then we can use Burning Rondo, take another knockout, go to 2 prizes. And now if my opponent comes up with a 2-prizer, we are looking pretty strong. So there's a Dark Energy gone. There's the Flower Selecting. So my opponent has only 5 in the Lost Zone now, so they definitely are drawing a bit behind, but thankfully our setup was as good as it was, with being able to kind of go aggressive with the Entei. Meant that we were able to keep powering up. So my opponent is probably playing Hands Moon, which is definitely respectable, but it's not going to affect us too much. So there is a Cramorant coming in for the Spit Innocently. Honestly, I don't think I could get Ultra Ball, which means that off the Ultra Ball I can Sada and then set up these and then still have access to Jet, which I don't hate. Let's see. I think that's what we'll do. So the first thing we'll do is the Fleet-Footed, drawing us Switch Card, interestingly enough, so that actually is huge. What we can do is Star Alchemy. Star Alchemy will get us Ultra Ball, just so we can keep thinning the deck. Have some cards to work with. So we can go Ultra Ball, get rid of the Double Fire. We can grab the Chi-Yu, just so that way we do have access to it. We can go Sada, draw ourselves a couple cards. And then what we can do is Jet. Now, I am actually going to use these Iron Valiant things now, just so that way we can potentially take down this Comfey if we need to. And from here, go back into the Entei, and we can use the Burning Rondo. 180, taking our 3rd prize card. Another Magma Basin, so if my opponent plays something like Iono, we do have Magma Basins in the deck. Just have to let the cat out real quick. My opponent's still drawing. They have 6 in the Lost Zone, and they still haven't played another Colress, so I think by the time they get another Colress down, we're going to be in a very strong position. I don't think that my opponent is really going to be able to come back from this. They would have to set up an Iron Hands right now and take 3 prizes. But there's the switch card. Switch card, a little bit annoying, but definitely not terrible. There's a boss. Boss coming to the squawk. And my opponent just passes. So our hand is big enough that we don't really have to worry. We can start getting rid of some potential, not dead cards, but cards that we're not really going to need too much of anymore. Let's see. I think we're at a point now where I can safely get rid of this Chi-Yu. We can also get rid of the Charizard. See what is left in the deck. Not too much there. And then honestly, we can just save the hand. Go switch cards. Go back into the Entei. Use fleet-footed. Draw ourselves a card. Now, as far as these resources, I kind of don't want to get rid of these just yet, so we are going to just play Iono, just so that way we can draw 3 cards at least right now, and then hit boss, jet, facing kind of the things that were in the bottom parts of our deck. So we can use the Burning Rondo, 160, and because of this jet, we should be able to win. My opponent puts something in the active with crazy HP. We can jet energy, or we can promote Cyclozar, retreat into Iron Valiant, ping 20, and then jet energy up a Gouging Fire and go from there. So I could have used the Lost Vacuum to get rid of the board, but it really wasn't. The board's not really causing me too much damage right now, so definitely not worried about it. Now my opponent is just playing a game of chicken right now, just keeps bringing up Iron Valiant or Squawk or really anything, so my opponent's definitely in a very rough spot. We actually get boss, and we have Iono. Roxanne's definitely annoying. I have to Iono and hope to hit the energy, and if I don't, it is what it is, but I do have access to boss at least. So there's a Sableye. 6 in the Lost Zone. My opponent still hasn't used Flower Selecting, so there is the 7. My opponent is down 4 energy. My opponent really hasn't played really any cards this game, so we're going to see what we can draw. We have the ability to draw into potentially Penny. We have the ability to draw into energy. Switching cards. We should still have 1 switch card left. And 2 jet energy, so I don't think we're going to be losing this game unless my opponent does some crazy hands play and takes 3 prizes right here, but then hands just dies to gouging, so gonna be interesting. They are gonna go for the Radiant Greninja, surprisingly, but I don't think it's gonna be enough for them to actually have the full benefit of being able to succeed off of it. So there's 90. They won't take a knockout here, and then the other 90 they can figure out where to put it. So they can take 4 prizes, so we actually have to take a knockout this turn, otherwise Sableye is going to be very irritating. So we're just gonna have to go Iono and hope we can hit energy or the switching out or supporter for the following turn. And we do hit the energy as well as a supporter for the following turn, so that's huge. It means we can go retreat, go into Entei. There's nothing I really need to Magma Basin for, so we can fleet-footed. Again, just drawing a couple more cards, and then from here, Burning Rondo. Now, my opponent, as I said, can take 4 prizes, but with the amount of attackers that we have on board, they are just going to, lose. We had to be able to attack that turn, and thankfully we drew our last fire energy in the deck, actually, so thankfully we have jet energy still, but definitely something that was a bit awkward. My opponent now putting the hands down while we're at 1 prize. It's kind of bold of them to do. They can take 3 prizes. If they had some weird play where they counter-captured Squawk and benched like a Lucha or something, they could take 5 prizes this turn, but there's no way that they can take 6. So there's a flower selecting. I think my opponent just had too rough of a start. They finally did get to 10 in the last zone, but it was after quite a few turns. I think 6 turns for them. I guess 3 turns, is it? Let's see, 3. There's the Prime Catcher, there's the Roxanne. So that's annoying, but again, not the end of the world. Oh, man. There's the concealed cards. I should have saved the V-Star, I think. I don't think I should have forced Sealstone just because it means that now I'm in a very bad spot, but we will see. If my opponent attacks this turn, I win. Now we're in the same boat. So we actually drew Bravery Charm, which, does that mess up the math of my opponent? Let's see, 50, this has 70, so that's 120. Yeah, my opponent actually can't take a knockout. And get all of the prizes now. So put this to 210. That means that we have 120 left, which means that Sableye doesn't take a knockout. That charm actually might come back to bite me in the butt, though. Yeah, I should have just let my opponent take a knockout. I mean, if they go 90-90, though, I have access to Mela. But if they decide to just 90 and do 90 somewhere else, then they have more math to play around with when it comes to Sableye, so. Okay, so they take the knockout on the Entei. I'm fine with that, because now we have access to Mela. It still would have been a couple of turns to kind of get the whole board set up for them in order to have kind of checkmate, but thankfully having the Mela is great here. So get the Magma Basin, we can just use the Mela, toss to the Squawk, draw Iron Valiant just to have some fun. Put 20 on the Greninja, retreat, take a knockout. My opponent Roxanne me twice that game and played a few Ionos. I feel like it is okay that I brought up the Valiant instead of just going for game. As we see, the MVP in this was the Entei V. I think when you build this deck, I think it's okay to build it more as Entei Valiant and have something like the Gouging Fire as a backup attacker for dealing big one-shot blows to things with 280 HP, but personally, I think that when it comes down to it, Gouging Fire is a little bit slow, just because you need so much to be able to set it up, whereas with Entei, you just attach and basin, but when it comes to, using Gouging Fire, if you want to set it up in one turn, you need the attach, you need the Sada, you need the basin. It's a lot to ask for, and not to mention, if you have 2 Entei in play and you have 2 energy in the discard and you use Sada, you have to get both of those energies. You can't leave one in for the basin, so it kind of gets tricky. It's definitely a strong card. I think it's just needing to be more work done. And this current list that did do well is kind of a skeleton for that, but hopefully it starts to kind of build more of a dominance throughout the meta as time goes on. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. With that being said, thank you for everything, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Later.